What makes 2024 of After Dark programming the best year? And what two films to you are must-sees?
Well, actually, this year we have a pretty diverse lineup this year from body horror to folk horror, and in between we have like a zombie film and a thriller. Um, and then I think the ones for me that are must see, that if you really have to choose, I think Grafted uh, by Sasha Rainbow is a movie from New Zealand about a girl whose father was doing some experiments to remove these blemishes on their face. They're like inherited blemishes. Uh, and so he dies from the experiment, but then she uh, keeps his experiments going, and then a lot of bad things happen. A lot of blood, a lot of squishy noises, and there's like a shocking ending. The other movie that I wanted to highlight was The Rule of Jenny Penn by director John Ashcroft, and it has Jeffrey Rush and John Lithgow acting in it. And it's about this, also set in New Zealand, and it's about a judge that Jeffrey Rush plays that has a heart attack on the bench, and then to recover, they send him to this senior home. In the meantime, John Lithgow plays this guy who's terrorizing the other seniors at this home with a therapy puppet. And there's some amazing dialogue between, Jeffrey Rush and Lithgow. I mean, they're amazing actors, and uh, they play this really, really well. And piece of like horror thriller involving older actors, which we normally don't see.
How many films do you preview for something like the Chicago International, and how many slots are you destined to fill?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So they only give me 6 slots for the After Dark Series plus the shorts program.
Okay.
This year for me for the After Dark, I watched 77 features,
Wow.
just for the features, and I start tracking films like in November, December, because I need to make sure that some of these films that come out during the year are still around in October. And so a lot of times, especially in the genre, like genre films, a lot of these films, after they do the two big genre festivals, or the three,
Right.
which is Fantasia, Fantastic Fest, and Stitches in Spain, then they kind of release the movies. There's a lot of really great films I just can't get because they get released. For example, Substance this year got released in September,
Yeah.
and I had actually hit them up earlier this year asking for a screener, and they told me they didn't know what their plans were. So
Huh.
I was in limbo with them on what was going to happen. And then later on in the summer, they told me that they were going to release this in September, so I couldn't get it. So that happens a lot, where these films that I can't get. So I have to make sure that they're still around. And because we're an international film festival, I try to make it as diverse as possible country wise. Um,
Right.
and this year we have one American film, and then the rest are from either New Zealand, Australia. I have this uh, amazing Mexican zombie film called Barbulos. And then I have a movie from Japan, which is Kiyoshi Kurosawa's new film, Cloud, which is amazing. And he's a genre master, and people really, really love him. So, it comes down to availability, how good they are, and, the possibility of like me getting them for this month, etc.
Okay, besides the United States, which country is doing the best after dark content in the sense that when you see it, you constantly remember it. And what do you think is within the country's culture that has their artists creating these films?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I've noticed, I've seen a lot of great stuff recently from South America, Latin America. I mean, they have really great stuff coming out. I mean, I think one of the stronger countries that have a lot of great genre stuff over the years has been Argentina. And you don't really see a lot of these movies from that part of the world. but I noticed that these countries that don't normally have a lot of genre film, and their genre films are almost always based on um, local folklore. So, a lot of these movies are uh, based on local folklore that are specific to that country.
Right.
And I think that's really great. I mean, Indonesia has been doing that.
Oh, wow.
And obviously for years, like, Korea and Japan have been kind of like the masters of this genre
Yeah.
films, since the 90s.
You grew up in Mexico City, which has its own reputation and vibe. How did that city influence your interests in the after dark type genre films?
Oh, that's so interesting. You asked me that. When I was a kid living in Mexico City, my dad used to take me to the movies a lot. I would see a lot of Mexican wrestling films. Um, and the funny thing about those was that they always showed sex comedies before the Mexican
Right.
wrestling film because they knew everybody was there for the wrestling film, so they did them as double feature. So I had to sit through these sex comedies where the jokes were like over my head,
Right.
but and there was like topless women, and but it didn't matter to me. I was there to watch, Insata movies, and that, and also like kind of like Mexican B movies with monsters in them,
Sure.
as well, those double features. So that's kind of got my appetite into genre films. And then, when I moved here, as you know, on Chicago television, there was a lot of genre stuff being
Yeah,
played
I know. It's
on
crazy, huh?
Channel 26 and 32,
And
uh,
44.
and 44. Yeah, and 44, they showed a lot of stuff. And so, as a kid, you used to just sit there in front of the TV on Saturdays and just watch, Godzilla films all day.
Um, what type of scare most scars you or scares you? What type of scares do you see over and over again when you're researching this after dark genre?
Oh, that is a good question. I think,
I'm
I've
going deep
noticed,
this year.
yeah, I think, I think in the past 10 years, I think genre films have really plugged into this, mental health
Ah,
crisis.
yeah,
And,
sure.
I think it's more in your face now, the storylines about mental health in these genre films than they used to be.
Right.
I think it was a little bit more subtle. Some of them were. So I think also I've noticed, so I think that part makes it a little bit more real, because you go through the same kind of mental health issues some of these characters in these movies go through. I mean, like honestly, Pat, like I don't get jump scares anymore, like hardly ever. Like it's very rare that I get a jump scare gets me. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Right.
But I think these more like real issues within genre are a little bit more scary than the actual jump scares. I mean, like, the Terrifier series is like all jump scares and like super bloody. And those just don't affect me anymore
Right.
because
Right.
I've seen so much stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there's stuff that I think some of the like folk horror stuff would just like tied into something that might have been real. I think those are interesting and scary.
Cool.
And we've seen more and more of the folk horror stuff in the past 10 years as well.
Okay.
So,
So interesting.
yeah, I'm kind of like the last person to really scare.
This is Patrick McDonald for HollywoodChicago.com. Copyright 2024.